Right guys, so this one's a fun little twin stick shooter, pretty much exactly the same as the previous title, but with a slight change. And what you get here is definitely more when it comes to Geometry Wars. You see, in the previous one you had two modes of play, which was retro and retro evolved. In this installment you get way more modes to play around with. So when I said that you've got more in Geometry Wars 2 than the previous one, well, here you've got all the options there right on the screen. Deadline is basically, I think it's 2 minutes long, and you've got to rack up a high score as much as you can and stay alive within 2 minutes. And Evolved is your normal Geometry Wars Evolved game where there's no time limit. But in Deadline you've got a time limit. In King, I can't remember actually which one it is, whether it's pacifism or ping. In one of those you can't really shoot, but you gotta make the shapes follow you, and you've got to sort of go in through these new things that they've come out with. They're like straight lines, and you've got to go through them, and they explode. They don't really do damage to you, but they do damage to, you know, nearby shapes. And I think it's King, where you can't really shoot outside, but you can only shoot whilst you're in these circles. So what you got to do, another thing that they've added in this game is when you shoot the shapes, they leave little dots behind, and you've got to really collect those dots as quick as you can because they don't really stay for long. Now those little green dots they actually increase your multiplier score. Sorry, they increase the multiplier, which affects the score. And sorry, I got it wrong. It was King, in where you basically you can't shoot unless you're inside the circle. And while you're in the circle, you only have a little short time before it turns red and shrinks, and then you've got to move to the next circle whilst collecting the little green dots too. One thing I actually forgot to mention was that you can actually play this game as multiplayer too. I mean, I've never really played it multiplayer, but yeah, you've got that option. Now the thing is that games like Geometry Wars 2 and 3, they don't really get the recognition that they deserve, and they seem to have like sort of fizzled out a lot. But going back to this game and giving it another boot up, I realized just how awesome this game was. A few things I can think of from the top of my head which I dislike about Geometry Wars 2 is, one, the particle effects are so nice and so bright, but at the same time, when there's so much going on the screen and at times it gets really hectic, it's actually hard to keep track of your shit or what's going on. They are very, very, very distracting. Very bright flashes and colors and particle effects, and they distract you, and you end up losing a ship or something. So that's one thing. The second thing that I can think of from the top of my head is, compared to the first one, in the first one you had 3 modes of firing. You had the standard, what you start off with, then you reach a certain score and the firing mode would change, and then you reach another set of score and the firing mode would change again. So you had 2 different firing modes than the standard normal one. In this one they have removed that and they've kept it to just one simple single firing mode or firing style, or bullet type, whatever you want to call it. So those are pretty much the only 2 things that I can think of from the top of my head that I dislike about Geometry Wars 2 compared to 1. But I mean, other than that, it's in some ways better than, well, let me rephrase that. In most ways it's better than Geometry Wars 1, and on its own right I would say this is definitely a fantastic game. Anyway, this is Critical Q signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you haven't subbed already, please subscribe. Really helps, small channels like myself. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.